Hello and welcome back to a brand new Player 2 review discussion. My name is Paul James, and today, to discuss the fantastic, showing the hand early, Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, I'm joined by our own Jess Zammit, and
Hello.
for Twitter.com today, Chris Button. How are you guys?
Hello. You're making me sound like I'm actually a representative of Twitter, the entity itself.
You're
I'm
not?
I'm dealing directly with Elon Musk as we speak.
You're Jack, right?
Uh, sure, let's go with that. I'm a generic white dude on the internet, so that fits the bill.
And that's the last we'll talk about that particular subject. As I mentioned, we are talking about Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope on the Nintendo Switch. Thank you to Ubisoft for providing all three of us code for us to be able to access the game. Jess, I might kick things off with you being the person who actually has a place where written words have been published about this game, and we're just dagging off you at this point.
Yeah.
Your review is live now for people to check out a couple of days ago on the Player 2 website, so please, viewers, listeners, go check that one out as well. But what are you thinking? Top level sort of views before we start to get in the weeds about it.
Top level views. I think it's ridiculous. Every day I consider the Rabbids and just think about what they are and what they bring to anything they touch, and I'm like, why? How did we get here?
How did this work?
Yeah, exactly. But like it's fun. It's ridiculous and fun, and the humor is terrible but hilarious. And I'm not really a strategy game sort of person. This genre is kind of new for me. Not new. It's just not one that I really touch often.
Yep.
And so yeah, like I remember when the first one came out. I was sort of not that keen on it. Because I was like, I love Mario games. I want to play it because I want to play every Mario game. But this is different. Like, this is so removed. And then it came bundled with my Switch, so I played it anyway. And yeah, I remember the first one kind of feeling a bit like, yeah, this is fine. Like, it's a nicer take on the genre that's kind of beginner friendly. But it didn't grab me. Like, it really didn't pull me in. But then
is that because it rapidly became a little less casual?
Yeah, it's because it rapidly became less casual. Yeah. Thanks, Paul. Yeah, and and the second one, I don't know. It kind of intrigued me again. It pulled me back in with its promise of like, there's going to be some open world stuff, and there's some new characters, and it's not going to be just this kind of turn-based strategy sort of game. Also, it allows you to move freely around the battlefield now, which the first one didn't. Yeah, so it intrigued me, despite the first one not really doing so. And yeah, high level conclusion, I guess it's fun. It's a good time. Everybody seems to love it. It's out now. I've seen everybody else's reviews. People are loving it. Perhaps more than I did. And I liked it. I thought it was great. But yeah, people are like, game of the year. I'm like, okay, sure.
I mean, I guess whatever floats your boat in that sense.
Yeah.
The game is fantastic. Chris, what about you? What do you think with the time you spent with it? I think of the three of us, I've clearly spent the least number of hours with this game, so I'll absolutely third wheel my way through this conversation. But what are you thinking so far?
Yeah, so without having completed the game, I'm a few worlds in, considering there's I think five or six planets, however many there are. So about that midway or just beyond midway, and my initial impressions of Sparks of Hope were less than stellar, to be perfectly honest. And this is coming from someone who really, really enjoyed the first one.
And is Rabbid fanboy number one.
Yeah, well, actually, that's a really good point, because I do remember playing the first Rabbids game on the Wii, Rayman Raving Rabbids, that crazy minigame compilation that it was, and really enjoyed that. And I think I managed to top the leaderboards of some of the things, but that's neither here nor there. I just had to flex that. But I get the whole Rabbids shtick and sort of why people refer to them as the minions of gaming, in terms of the weird slapstick role that they play in their respective games. But yeah, so I really enjoyed the turn-based grid aspect of the first Mario and Rabbids game, particularly the expansion. I really, really loved the expansion, Donkey Kong Adventure or whatever it was. Yep. It was the Donkey Kong themed expansion, which I can see a lot of the DNA of that expanded in Sparks of Hope in terms of the sheer level of mobility, because with the DK expansion in the first game, it opened up a lot of abilities and features to swing across the entire grid, the entire area of battle in a single turn, which is something that sort of fluidity and freedom of movement within sort of your circle of action points or whatever in Sparks of Hope does feel a bit similar in that regards. But what really sort of threw me off with Sparks of Hope to start off with was it started off at a pretty sedentary pace, which a lot of Mario games do, because they're for everyone. You've got to ease people in. But then I heard the Rabbids started speaking, and my confusion must have been visible at the time, because I remember my partner sort of thinking, "Oh, hang on, did that Rabbid just speak?" And because we've known the Rabbids to do their
and all those sort of gross sounds.
Their blah and not much else. But now they've got actual like voice barks and voice lines and that sort of thing as well.
Little known fact, to be voiced by Chris Pratt in the next one. Mario, like Rabbid Mario, Chris Pratt, look out for it.
May God have mercy on us all. And I certainly don't fault the people who did the voices, which is a very topical discussion considering other things that have happened with Bayonetta. Yeah. But anyways, the voice acting is fine, but it feels a bit like something out of a Saturday morning cartoon, and which may sound something a bit weird to say considering we're talking about a game that's a sequel to one that already had Rabbids in it with all the slapstick silly humor that came with it. But I felt like they were able to express more personality with the almost the silent film slapstick approach that they've previously had, as opposed to trying to express these very 90s styled attitude voice lines that, I don't know, it really grated me for some reason. And I haven't even talked about gameplay stuff, which I think has been totally fine. But that was my first impressions, was that why have they added voices to this game?
That's fair. Like it did. I mean, I think probably like everyone, it did catch me off guard as well when they first uttered an actual clear word that we identified. That was terrifying at first. It's like AI sentience. Like there was a concern there, but I guess it probably hasn't grated with me as much potentially as you. But I am also nowhere near as far through the game as either of you. As about 2 to 3, maybe 4 hours in up to this stage, kind of messing around that first world. Similar sort of dramas that Jess, you've mentioned at various points in the game, where I just can't help now but chase around every single side quest on the thing. That goal of 100%ing it and all those sorts of things that you just, I don't know. Yeah. I think as gamers we all just find ourselves trying to 100% things, but I can't say that bothered me too much. Yet.
The game is so good at like tracking your progress. Like there's a screen that breaks down where you are in every world, like how far you are through the story itself, and then separately how far you are towards like overall completion. It's really easy to be kind of tempted by that and be like, oh, I'm at 81%, like I'm so close.
Gotta get those numbers up. They're rookie numbers.
Yeah, exactly, rookie numbers. I can do better than that. What am I? But yeah, like to go to the Rabbid point, I don't know. I think I was always like a bit creeped out by Rabbid Mario, and Rabbid Luigi seems fine. He's like kind of a cool guy. But like when they started talking, I was like, I don't need this. I don't want this. I don't want this to happen. But I'm fine with Rabbid Peach and Rabbid Rosalina. Like Rabbid Peach having a voice makes sense to me for some reason. I don't know.
She's more sassy.
Yeah, she is.
And it kind of fits a little bit. There'd be those wisecracks and the like.
Yeah, exactly. Like I feel like now, of course, she can speak. Like she has to caption all of these selfies that she's taking when she uploads them to her presumably Rabbid Instagram. I don't know what they would call it, but I don't know. Them speaking kind of didn't throw me, I guess, the way it threw you. But I think that's just because I kind of love Rabbid Peach and Rabbid Rosalina, and the way I played, I didn't really choose to have Rabbid Mario or Rabbid Luigi in my party that much. So I just reduced my time with them, and I think that helped kind of.
Well, maybe that is my problem, because whenever Rabbid Luigi speaks, he sounds a bit like all the depictions of Sonic the Hedgehog from all over the years. Just that really up in your face attitude for the sake of attitude sort of thing, and perhaps it just doesn't mesh with my personality or my tastes.
Time to change that game style so you don't have to deal with him anymore.
Yeah, maybe. Or that it's very apt because his play style is referred to as pest. So perhaps that's it's not a bug. It's
there it is.
Feature.
It's right there.
So I've just answered my own question. But I suppose on that, what did you make of the combat, Jess? Because I know you preferred the sort of more flexibility of movement with the circle area as opposed to the grid. So how did that change the combat for you?
I think it let me experiment more. Like I would do a lot of run to this space. Okay, can I shoot the character that I want to shoot from this space? No, okay, let's just inch a tiny little bit to the left, and then suddenly they're in the shot. And there was a lot more time spent weighing up, like, okay, exactly where I'm standing in this thing. Are they going to be able to see me? Am I going to be able to see them? Like, how is that going to factor into my plans? Do I take the risk of putting myself in this open space? Not open space, but slightly to the left of cover, and hope that they won't be able to hit me. And I also I found myself running around a lot. Like, I would just go through pipes to be like, where can I get to if I go through this pipe? Like, what area will I be able to cover in this new space? I did a lot of planning of like, okay, how am I going to get everybody into the one space? How am I going to get them to jump off each other and go to explore new areas?
Yeah, how good is that team jump?
Oh, the team jump is so good. Every time, like, I was getting so frustrated because there's always that one character that, like, their circle is a little bit bigger, and they were always the one that I wanted to send further because usually it was Luigi, and he's a sharpshooter, so you want him at a distance. So I'd be trying to play this weird game with myself where I'd be like, how far back into the other character's movement circle do I have to move Luigi so that he's close enough that he can team jump from them, but so that I'm not losing any distance that I would have gotten from him being able to move further anyway. But yeah, no. Team jump is great. The movement I really liked. How did you find it going from grid to the circle?
Yeah, I think it's a great sidestep, because I don't see it as like an improvement as such. I see it as sort of like a very different way to approach things, because clearly there's many games with grid-based combat and grid-based movement, and I thought they implemented it quite well in the original Mario and Rabbids. So I think what they've gone for here in Sparks of Hope is really clever, and really, like you've expressed, there's a lot more room for experimentation and trying things, which I think perhaps may be more approachable to those who don't normally vibe with strategy or turn-based games, especially as we've all been nodding vigorously at the team jump sort of stuff, being able to sort of retreat a character who's a bit further out, bring them back a bit so you can then jump someone else and leapfrog and do all those maneuvers. It is very, very satisfying. So I really enjoyed it. And I think the mix of the different classes and weapon types are really cool, because I remember with the original Mario and Rabbids, the whole thing was, whoa, Mario's got a gat now. So all these Mushroom Kingdom characters with obviously
with
very toy-like looking guns. Nothing GTA San Andreas about it, but
But you're not going to tell everyone about all the blood that spills from.
Yeah, we're not meant to tell them about the secret final world.
But it's still embargoed, right?
But I do like that. Even they've got new weapons so that they play similarly, because Luigi is still a sniper-like character, but Mario, very, very clever with the dual pistols, being able to either select one target twice or select one target and then hit another target with the other gun. That's very, very cool.
It's a lot of the small things like that really, really add up.
Yeah. There's a lot of that, and then it's further augmented by the the Sparks, the Rabbid Luma hybrids, which I absolutely adore. They
It's so
look
cute.
they're this
In like a
mix,
disgusting way, though. Still,
this cute but terrifying. Like
Yeah,
some of
there
them
you go.
some of them look more than others, because I rescued one, because you accrue them along the way through natural gameplay, but then through side quests you can gain
a few
more
extras. Yeah,
sparks who give you like various elemental attacks or buffs, that sort of thing. I picked up one that was like this green spark that had like sludge and ooze dripping off of it. That one did make me laugh a bit at how sort of disgustingly cute it was. But yeah, did you have a lot of fun toying around with the sparks, Jess?
Yes. Yeah. I did really love the sparks. I like that they get kind of big and fat when you give them more little like star bits, and they look kind of aggressive. They're so cute. I mean, my favorite one is the one that's like, I can't remember its name exactly, but it's essentially like a vampire one, and it's got these little teeth. So it's, it allows you to steal health from enemies when you attack them, but it's also just this little star friend with like little vampire teeth. It's adorable. I don't quite understand, like, the way that you gain the sparks, like you were saying, is you can get some through side quests, but you also get some through, like, battles. And at the start of the battle, the sparks will be like, if you win this battle, then I can come with you. But they never quite express or, like, explain why they can't just go with you without you battling.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, why not help now?
Yeah.
Only once you've proven that you are worthy will I come with you. Even
Like,
though I
mate,
desperately want to get out of this situation, but please do the job first.
Like, even if I'm a giant loser, how is it worse for you to come with me than to be stuck in this situation that you clearly don't want to be in?
Work for me, damn it! Come on.
Yeah. Earn my love. I guess so. Yeah, like they were fun though. I liked what they added to the combat. I liked having to think about, do I want to give all of my characters sparks that will allow them to be kind of more well-rounded, or do I want to lean into their strengths? So like characters that were more, I'll talk about Luigi again. I really liked Luigi. I had him in my party like most of the time. I gave him one that's like a mirror, so it reflects back damage that enemies give to you. It's like a certain percentage of the damage. Because I didn't want him to be fighting up close with a lot of enemies, and a lot of the sparks give you like area effects, so you can do like damage via shock to enemies, in your area, or like ooze shockwaves, and you can kind of poison them essentially. But yeah, so I gave those to like my close-up fighters. And then there are some that will like heal, or some that will allow you to like improve just the general stats of your whole party. Some of them, it kind of requires some strategy, because there's like an extra level of having to remember that constantly got me, where I would be like, okay, I want to use, at the time it was Mario's ability. It might have just been the spark I had equipped to him. I was like, I want to use it to buff my whole party, but then you have to kind of remember to do that before you send everybody off in different directions. Because there were a bunch of times.
Because then they're outside of the range, yeah.
Yeah. There were a bunch of times where I'd be like, okay, everybody go do your thing, and then the character I got to last would be the one that had this like protection buff, and I just have to be like, well, I played myself. I could have protected everybody, and now everybody's just scattered. So there's like an extra little level you have to remember, but they can be used in some very, very cool ways.
Yeah, I really love how all these systems have come together in a host of different ways. From, obviously, we've touched on the team jump already, and how exhilarating that is. Like, even the challenge of it, like how far can I get? Like, when I'm trying to stretch this thing as far as I can go, how can I do this to even try to stack those together to try and pull someone you need right up to the front of the pack, whatever it happens to be. The way that the sparks kind of interact with that as well. And I mean, obviously, I don't have nearly as many of those yet as the both of you do, but the ones that I've got, you're talking about that really well. Like, from the AoE effects, I mean, there's kind of the fire one that you get really, really early on in the piece, and then again, other ones that, create these buffs, and making sure that you kind of strategically, okay, how do I need to stack this deck so I can get the best out of what I've currently got equipped, is always a really, really exciting challenge. And I do love that. I guess rewinding back to the beginning there, the pivot that's been made to this system, it's more accessible in the sense that you don't really have to commit to anything until you decide to fire a shot. you're not committed to where anyone is placed on the field. Like, you can creep that little bit closer. So great, now I've got this character lined up so that I can get this team jump going. When I get that, because you are shuffling pieces around the board a little bit to get them in the right places. But when you do, you can orchestrate these really amazing plays that can sometimes completely flip the momentum of the battle. And have that ability in a game that's still really designed to be accessible for, I won't say a really young audience, but a younger and perhaps less inclined to play this sort of game audience is really cool. I really appreciate what they've done there.
Yeah, I totally agree. And there's a couple of points there I'd like to touch on. One being the accessibility. I think there are some really great accessibility settings that you can tweak your experience to quite a modular level in terms of, yes, you can set your difficulty to sort of the equivalence of easy, medium, hard, that sort of thing. But then there's the individual sliders for the amount of damage that enemies deal, or the amount of health that they have, amount of health that you have, or for people who are totally new or just don't want to worry about challenge whatsoever, can turn invincibility mode on at any given moment. So even if there's just one battle in particular that's giving you a lot of grief, you can switch it on and get
the job done and get out.
Sorry, yeah, and that's the whole thing is that, you know, it's about making these experiences accessible to people, or, you know, meeting people where they want to be met as far as the experience that they're looking for in a game. So I think that's really great. And the other thing was, again, talking about the team jump sort of thing. I'm getting a bit excited about that because I can see how that's gearing towards the expansion of Sparks of Hope, or, you know, future stuff for Sparks of Hope, which they've already teased. Yes. Rayman's making a return, and, you know, what's one of his classic abilities? It's his helicopter flappy ears that he's got. So there's going to be something like that, which really excites me because I consider the Donkey Kong Adventure expansion to be the best of the original Mario and Rabbids. So I expect that the eventual Rayman component will be the best version of Sparks of Hope, which I know I sounded pretty sour on the whole experience early with the whole shock at the sort of presentation and the voices side of things. But once that did wear off and I sort of got used to, okay, I'm gonna have to sort of get used to this a bit, I really did warm to the overall experience. And I think, yeah, the combat is great. The environments look beautiful, and there's still a lot of that classic Mario and, dare I say, Rabbid charm as well. So there's lots of stuff to like about Sparks of Hope, even if some of the elements I found a bit grating at times.
Yeah, that's fair. And I mean, I personally am just really fascinated to get further into the game. And obviously, I mean, some of those systems, the team jump and those sort of things, right now for me, they're still really exciting and novel and new. Do they age well? I know, like, I mean, Jess, how long have you put into the game? You've finished it. How long did it take you to get to that point?
Just over 20 hours.
Like, were those sort of systems still...
Yeah, I mean, you find
fresh?
you find new ways to use them, because in the later levels there are kind of environmental things like pads that let you just jump by yourself.
Okay.
So you can kind of expand on the team jump thing, because you can be like, okay, how am I going to position everybody so that I can take my initial jump off that jump pad and then jump again off somebody? Like, it's, yeah, you can kind of play with it.
Awesome.
Plus, I think the environments get more complex and they get kind of bigger or longer, at least. Like actual lengthwise, not battle length. Like, yeah. Yeah, I actually liked it more the more that I played. I wish that I hadn't been like needing to rush through the end of it a little bit, because I was meeting embargo, and those are, you know, that's the reviewer life. But yeah, I felt kind of the same at the beginning. I was like, this is fine, but it's not great. But then I started to really get into it. And like the open world bits, the exploration bits, I think get more interesting. The environmental puzzles get more interesting, which is what pulls me into a game. So, yeah, I think it holds its own. And it doesn't outstay its welcome. Like, it's I think, the right length.
Yeah, I think with the with the sort of experience getting stronger as it goes on, I'm finding that the more that I play of it, the better my experience has become, and the more that I'm enjoying it. At no point did I think, oh, gee, this is no good or whatever.
Mm.
It's just that I had such a great experience with the original that the fact that it just didn't feel like it kept the same sort of trajectory, and it sort of took a little while to get going before it elevated into sort of the experience that we know this Ubisoft team is more than capable of achieving. And I'm looking forward to playing more and seeing all these abilities and extra environmental aspects come to life as well. And again, I think another really small, perhaps not really small, but another small-ish thing that I've enjoyed about the exploration, as Jess, you've mentioned, with the more open world stylings of the locations you're put in. I think the fact that you actually control one of the characters, as opposed to in the first one, you were sort of controlling Beepo or whatever the the vacuum cleaner robot thing was.
Yeah, Beepo nailed it.
And
Beepo.
yeah, and then the other characters followed the robot, whereas this time you actually are playing one of the characters, whoever you've chosen as the leader of your party at that particular moment, which I think adds or rather removes a layer of separation from you and the action, and adds a little bit of that fluidity of movement and another extra dimension of sort of connectivity to the game. And then I think the other main thing I want to mention was that the soundtrack once again is utterly sublime. I followed Grant Kirkhope's work for many years, so I can pick his music by ear pretty well. But then there's the other
Yoko
couple
Shimomura's in there as well.
Yeah, I was going to say there's the other couple of composers whose name had completely escaped me until that point. There's just wonderful music all throughout that just scales beautifully with the action or the ambience of the location. So yeah, it's really lovely in that regards.
Yeah, that pairing of Grant Kirkhope, Yoko Shimomura, and Gareth Coker is incredible. Like they're some of the best in the business, and to get them all three working together on the same title, it's really, really striking. I guess what was interesting, one of the points you made there that was interesting was, that kind of how you're kind of more controlling the player. I've struggled a little bit with it, not for that reason, because I enjoy that you are kind of in control of Mario, whoever kind of the head of your party is, but in terms of navigation, you are still being navigated by Beepo. Beepo is still kind of at the head of the snake there to an extent. And so I've found myself, I'm going to steer left, and because Beepo is kind of in front, but only barely, the optical thing, it almost looks like your party leader is meant to be in front, but they're not quite. And so I will hook left, and I've kind of already overshot because it's actually based on where Beepo is as opposed to where Mario. There's this half, less than half a second sort of disconnect there, but it does mean that I kind of find myself hooking around in weird ways because I've already overshot and I have to kind of compensate and those sort of things. It's a little bit weird in that sense. It's only something I kind of learnt in the last couple of hours that I've played. Hang on, it's not a flaw with me. It's not even a specific mechanical flaw. It's just a weird little design quirk there that Beepo is still the head of that snake, only barely and really, really subtly, but it does kind of mess me up from time to time. Had either of you noticed that you're kind of overshooting things in any way?
No, I didn't even notice that was happening. Because Beepo, I don't know if maybe it happens later, but you're kind of carrying Beepo for most of it. I don't know if that's always the case, but maybe.
I was just thinking at the very, very beginning of the game, even. Something I noticed right at square one. I think even it might be immortalized in Player 2 Players, I think.
So there gets to a point where Beepo has some environmental abilities, I guess, that you can use when you're walking around the place. And so a lot of the time, maybe why I didn't notice it is because I was carrying Beepo and using Beepo's ability to reveal things in the environment, I guess. So Beepo was attached to my character. So I guess
right.
it wasn't
so
then
that
that
head of the snake now is that head character, so it disappears. So it might be this very brief thing of the systems are kind of built around Beepo being carried along, but that brief period where Beepo is not being carried along, it's a little problematic.
Well, perhaps the saving grace there is that there's not really much in
There's
terms
no
of
consequence.
precision platforming.
Yeah.
There's
There's certainly no consequence for it at all outside of the, oh, okay, right, I've just overshot by like an inch.
I think perhaps in terms of the control, I misjudged a couple of dashes into enemies because you initiate battles by dashing into enemies in the open a fair bit of the time. I've perhaps misjudged a couple of those, but perhaps that's just me getting used to, because when you think of Mario games, you think of very free-flowing, almost parkour-like movement, whereas that's not quite the case here because you're not, controlling Mario and his, double, triple jump sort of maneuvers. So, perhaps that's where I just misjudged a few things, or perhaps I'm just, a pleb who needs to get good.
I was going to say, I'm bad at video games. Like, my timing's just that bad that I can't just walk in a line.
It's like a little weird. I get it. I get that it could feel strange.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. It could have just been me. It could have just been a couple of weird scenarios where I wasn't quite paying attention like I should. I feel like it was captured in video, though, so I'll check that back at some point.
Nice.
Or you, the viewer/listener, you go do it. You can bolster those numbers. Thanks. Do we have any other thoughts on the game at all? Obviously, we are all three of us at various different stages of this experience so far, but, I mean, what are we thinking as we start to wind things down a bit? Anything that's we've not touched on yet?
I think the only thing we haven't touched on is the story, which I quite liked, I think. There are some pretty big plot holes where I'm just like, I don't think that they're going to answer those questions. I don't think that they really care to. So just going to have to be fine with that.
I mean, Rabbids are involved. Do they need to?
Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, I mean, I liked it. I liked the story. I think it was good. Obviously, neither of you two have seen the ending yet, and I don't want to spoil it, but it was pretty good. There are some elements that come in with the story because obviously the way that I think about this game is it's like the Super Mario Galaxy version of the first one where they've just gone to space and now Lumas and Rosalina and stuff are involved. And yeah, there are some kind of elements from like Super Mario Galaxy that I really liked. Like there are a couple of scenes kind of later where there's that like storybook kind of feeling to it, I guess, which I think were cool. And I guess the only other thing is like Edge. Edge is this new character who is like Rabbid but cool.
But really edgy. But really
she's
edgy. Yeah.
Yeah, she's edgy, obviously. And there's like an extra layer to her name that they talk about later, and I'm like, haha, you thought you were really clever doing this. I see what you've done. I like Edge. I think Edge is maybe the reason I didn't feel so weird about the Rabbids being voiced, because I look at Edge and I'm like, of course this cool like punk rock Rabbid is like sassy and kind of mean, and like it makes perfect sense that she would have the ability to speak. So I guess I just then didn't think about it with the other Rabbids. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think she's cool. She's a cool addition, and you know, she comes in and they're all like, wow, this mysterious lady who has a dark past. And you know,
never heard that dark past gimmick before. Never been used in video games.
never.
Not a single time.
Nope, so creative. But I like her.
But cool.
Yeah, I had her in my party for like the whole game because I also just liked her fighting style. Yeah, the new characters. The new characters are good, including Bowser, who is now there because he's like mildly less annoyed at Mario than he is at all the other stuff going on. So he's like, today we're friends.
Fuck it, I'll
because
join the team.
yeah.
Oh, they're following the enemies to lovers trope. Oh,
I know.
I've been waiting so long.
How many Mario games have we done that in before? I can think of some Paper Marios.
Well, they've teamed up in one of the Paper Marios, and I think like Mario and Luigi, Bowser's inside story. There's an uneasy alliance there for a chunk of it, but anyway.
Yeah.
Chris, what about you? Any other elements we've not touched on so far?
Yeah, I like Edge as well in terms of like a character design. I think she looks really cool with her funky coloured hair and everything. And me being the 20-something-year-old fella, the body of a 20-something-year-old fella with the mind of like a 50-year-old man who loves U2, couldn't stop thinking about the Edge puns and thinking of U2 puns the whole time while playing as Edge, or the Edge as I refer to as. But I've said just earlier, found it a little bit slow. It didn't quite pick up where the previous game left off in terms of its, the way that its systems all combined to create this really fun, really clever and creative strategy hybrid experience. But I think it's fair to put some of that down to a new approach in terms of the way the game is controlled through its more free form movement in combat, and going for a little bit more attitude with the voices as well, which that was unexpected. But once it got going, and up to the point where I am at the moment, it's really hit its stride. So I'm really, really impressed and looking forward to playing it all the way through.
Yeah, I must say I'm really, really excited to see this one out. There's a few plates that are being spun at the moment, but this is one of those that I want to keep spinning that one. I want to find times where I can just sit down, pop the Switch out. It's a really awesome remote. Like a portable title. You don't feel compelled to be rooted to the couch and watch it, play it on the big screen. It's a fantastic game to just take on the fly. Those bite-sized chunks, from the little battles you encounter along the way to even the bigger story moments, aren't, at least from my experience so far, they aren't so long that you couldn't just sit there and have a blast for 10 minutes and move on if that's what you needed to do, and just whittle away at the game. It's really, really good for that, and I'm really, really enjoying myself so far. So I'm thrilled that, having now heard from the both of you at both different points of the experience, one done, one getting there, that it sounds like I'm going to continue to be happy as I continue playing the game. So thank you for all the insights.
Yeah, I think you'll enjoy the experience as it unfolds further, and it's a good point about being so quick to pick up and play, because most of the combat encounters, they're involved enough to justify their existence, but they're not drawn out excessively. I think there are some longer boss encounters, as you'd expect of a boss, but yeah, a lot of the battles are pretty short, sharp, and shiny, but enough to get the brain working.
Yeah. Well, thank you both very much for sharing all these thoughts. Jess, of course, your words will be found already on player2.net.au. Chris, yours on Twitter, because you're Jack on Twitter.
As we've established, yes.
As we've established, the narrative will build from here. But in seriousness, where can people go to see what you're up to, interact, etc., etc.? Jess?
Yeah. Oh, Jess, yep.
Sorry, yes.
Sorry, I'm just working left to right on the video version.
So you can find me on Twitter at Zammit Jess, or as Paul said, my words about games are on Player 2. So go there to find words about this game and many others.
Jack?
Yeah.
People are going to start calling me Jack, and I'm not sure if I'll respond. So I'm a bit of a digital nomad at the moment, hence why Jack, I suppose. So you can find me on Twitter doing various feats of journalism, writing, talking about games, all sorts of other stuff. You can find me at Bibbyboy, BIBBYBHOY on Twitter, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Sparks of Hope all the way through.
Exciting things to share in the future. So,
Indeed.
And for myself, Paul James Games, of course, the website is player2au. Again, check out Jess's review. Check out Chris's thoughts on twitter.com/Jack. No, I'm gonna stop leaning into that joke. It's a bad one. And yeah, thank you both very much for coming along again. Thank you very much to Ubisoft for providing us codes. We're all really appreciative. And the game is out now, so please, if you enjoyed what you've heard, if you've enjoyed what you've seen, it is an experience well worth playing. So go pick it up now on your Nintendo Switch. And otherwise, thank you all very much, and we'll see you next time.